Okay, we good to go? All right, let's see. Hello, everyone. Welcome to COVID-19 Pandemic Prevention Solutions with AOPEN. Thank you for joining us here today. Normally, you would have Chris Longo, our Marketing Director and Sales Director here, but unfortunately has a personal matter to attend to, so it's just me today. Also, this is not a partner webinar, so the main purpose of this webinar is sort of to review what we've really been doing this year, AOPEN, from these type of solutions, what we've been doing with our partners. We've obviously had, if you've checked them out, 5 or 6 other webinars pertaining to these type of solutions. So if you want the whole rundown of how each one of these solutions works individually, definitely go check those out. So this is really just a review. This is going to announce the release of a new product, a new module we have officially. So we're definitely going to check that out in this presentation. So let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for coming. So like I said, it's just me today, Miles Schofield, Sales Engineer for AOPEN America. And today, the primary solutions that we're going to look at is, of course, thermal cameras, both integrated and the standalone IP cameras. The next thing that everyone's been dealing with this year in 2020 is teleconferencing and telepresence solutions, which are, I believe, going to continue to be a huge growing market in 2021 and beyond. And of course, briefly talk about antiviral, antimicrobial coatings as well. So those are the 3 types of primary solutions we're going to go over today. And let's get started. So in my last webinar on thermal camera technology, I believe it was way back in Q2, it was really unclear about where the success of thermal camera technology was going to be in the United States. Who was going to be buying it, who was going to get government funding, where it was going to be implemented, why it was going to be implemented. It wasn't clear on what restrictions, the whole thing, right? What it's basically boiled down to is a lot of states have just done things independently. But the 2 things that we do know now, now that we have hindsight, is that over the past sort of six-ish months, is that typically low-end education is not a great priority for thermal camera solutions, and also retail is not great, right? Because retail has been severely restricted. So the reason why children K through 12 are not a priority is because typically they just don't have symptoms, especially the fever part, which is what you're trying to detect with thermal camera solutions. I mean, that's what they're looking for, right? So why would you be spending dollars in solution time to try and find a low instance rate, right? You're much better off testing the parents of the children, right? That's sort of the thing that the science is still out on, is that whether or not children, although they don't get it, whether or not they can still carry it and spread it like crazy, right? So that's what we don't know, but you're still better off testing the parents. Retail, of course, has been restricted a lot more than most people have been anticipated. So people aren't going out. Volume of travel has been reduced, severely. Travel during Thanksgiving was reduced from 26 million down to 1 million. So travel, retail, shopping, it's down a lot. And so obviously that's not a great, if you're not having those hordes of people come through, it's not a great way to catch and scan people, right? So where do we think the actual market exists, and where have we seen the market this year for thermal camera solutions? So this slide from my previous webinar 6 months ago turned out to be mostly correct. So the major companies investing in thermal camera solutions are really the big volume control ones, like warehouses that have 5 to 10,000. Now you may say, well, schools have can have up to 5,000 students enter on a daily basis, but we know that in a lot of these cases, the schools have split depending on the state and the region and things like that. So most schools have just focused on trying to make learn from home work, right? Whereas workers got to work, right? Especially Amazon workers, right? So obviously Amazon heavily invested in these thermal camera solutions extremely early on because they want to do everything that they can to keep making money. And they did make a lot of money this year, obviously. Same thing with GM and factory workers and things like that. Not GM retail, but the production and the manufacturing and things like that. So we know that these solutions are very valuable in tracking parents of children and required workers, or essential workers as they call them. And of course, factory workers, you know, like places like Amazon warehouses and GM warehouses and any other place where you'd have to have thousands of people entering. Right? So the main product that we want to announce today for a thermal camera solution is the AOPEN thermal camera module. The idea behind this module is it's a completely integrated sensing solution that can fit on a variety of different all-in-ones. So it fits on screens basically larger than 15, so you can see it's about just as wide as a 15-inch in the short way. And so we just have 3 AOPEN all-in-ones here, our 15, 19, and 22-inch E-tiles, and you can see it just mounts on the top in portrait mode, and it's designed for one of those walk-up solutions that we talked about in the last webinar, right? So one of the primary solutions, and the one that seems to be selling the best into corporate, is a kiosk where you're instructed to walk up, scans in about 2-3 seconds, and then it just gives you the thumbs up or the big green bar, and then you just walk around it. So it's a very instructive, easy to use type of solution, which is why it's so popular, right? So when we talk about the AOPEN thermal camera module, you can see that it's broken down into a number of pieces. No shutter design, it's just like a webcam. You can see that the device on the right is actually the thermal camera module, and which is 0.5 plus or minus 0.5 C, which is pretty typical for a low-end module. The main thing you got to understand about low-end modules is that they're all very, very similar in spec. And the bottom line is that if you're buying a module which is less than $1,000, you're not going to get, it's probably around 50 centimeter target distance, which means that if you're evaluating these systems or your customer is evaluating one of these systems, know that these low-end systems, you have to be within 2-3 feet of them, right? And that's exactly the way that a lot of these kiosk solutions is that they line you up within 2 or 3 feet. The other aspect of this solution is the LEDs on the sides of the device. You can see these 2 little white modules on the side. So why would you need those? For this particular module, this was for one of our solution providers who does a ID check-in system. So this is designed to run on our Linux and Windows E-tile all-in-one solutions. And so they can also do facial recognition. So this is becoming a very popular, more heavy type of analysis solution for HR, right? So what does it allow you to do? It allows you to do security control systems, check people in and out, and scan temperature. You can't fake them. They do mask detection. So they make sure that you can't fake them with, like, if you hold up your cell phone or a printout copy or a photo of the person. So the whole idea behind these little LEDs on the side is that what's extremely important for facial recognition is stability, right? Image stability specifically, right? And contrast, right? If you're sitting in the dark, or, you know, facial recognition does not work, right? If you're walking down the street at night, those cameras aren't going to catch you, right? So it's most important. So the whole idea is that you create a stable light environment so that the facial recognition is way, way, way more accurate, right? And of course, it's got a regular full HD camera with infrared presence sensing in there too. So it's got the whole litany. We do sell a version without the thermal camera module as well. But yeah, this is the new AOPEN thermal camera module. So our plan for this device is to get small quantities for samples and testing in January of 2021. So if you're interested, getting a sample, checking it out, trying it out, let us know. So we have released this solution in limited quantity in other regions. AOPEN's a global company, so this is a solution installed at a factory office where thousands of people enter per day. And you can see that it's an AOPEN E-tile 15 with the new AOPEN thermal camera module on top. So thousands of people come in, they go up to this device, it checks them in, you know, they're recognizes if they work there, if they don't work there, checks if they're wearing a mask, et cetera, all those features that I talked about. And the one thing to note about this particular solution is that you see the typical entranceway. So the previous entranceway solution was below, right, which is a card scanner with a keypad and an intercom and something else, some other type of scanner below it. So to contrast, this is what you're replacing, right? When you talk to security integrators and things like that, these new type of very interactive kiosk type entranceway systems can not only do corporate communication, but all these other things. So you can sort of see how many things they replace and how modern modern they look. And that's the reason why I think these solutions are popular, particularly in corporate environments. So to close it off in terms of the entranceway thermal scanning kiosk, is just to bring up once again, we had a webinar with 22 Miles a few weeks ago. Definitely go check it out if you want to learn more about their approach. They've been having a lot of success this year, specifically in the corporate and enterprise space with their solution that runs on one of our all-in-one e-tiles. You can see that their particular solution is one that I totally just described. It's you walk up, align your face to the frame. They have their own little thermal camera module that they built on top. So if you have customers or you're looking for these type of solutions, definitely check that webinar out and check out 22 Miles for sure. So the next type of solution that's been prevalent this year is, of course, non-kiosk based thermal camera technology, right? Which is what typically is used in more high volume situations. So I brought up this whole contrast 6 months ago, and the whole balance is control versus volume, right? If you want to measure someone's temperature coming through a door, the most accurate way to do it is just to stop them, stand in front of them with a handheld IR medical grade thermometer, and you know, you're good to go. However, you have to stop them. You got to take this measurement, and that takes about 5 seconds. And kiosks do speed that up a bit, but you still got to direct them to a kiosk and get them going. So the whole idea behind just a camera without a kiosk is that you're trying to make the experience less invasive, right? So AOPEN does have a higher end camera, which is just a straight IP camera. It comes with sort of an industrial grade commercial software package that has a lot of algorithm features. And the whole purpose of it is to be able to track people as they walk by. It has an extremely high frame rate, which is not present on the lower end cameras. And that's what allows a stable temperature gathering as people sort of come by, because you can only catch them for like a second and a half. So if you have a 10 frame rate camera, you're not getting many measurements out of that as people walk by, right? The kiosk solutions can afford to have a lower frame rate camera because you're asking the people to come up, get within 3 feet, stop for a few seconds, and then come in, maybe swipe a card, whatever. But these are sort of passive type systems where you don't want the person to stop, right? It's just about getting temperature data of people walking through a door, right? So they're very fast with continuous measurement. And this one in particular, reason why it's more expensive is because instead of having that 50 centimeters, it goes all the way up to 6 feet, which means that you can sort of, if people walk by a desk at an angle, you can sort of catch them, right? And like I said, it comes with comprehensive software to control this that runs on Windows. So I'm going to cover 2 quick use cases, corporate use cases for this product as well. So one of the use cases for a heat finder is, of course, healthcare. So when you come up to this particular desk and check in, it's just a pre-screened patients. Obviously, the doctor does a secondary check, but this is just initial check. And you can see in this particular situation, it was extremely easy to set up. Now, you may say like, oh, well, every single thermal camera solution needs to be above eye level and all this stuff. And the only reason, so the main reason for mounting thermal cameras up so high is because you don't want to catch lights in the background. So I talk about this a lot in the previous webinar. You can check out all the gotchas with how to set up these type of solutions in my previous webinar. But yeah, all you do is put it on a little table mount. It's running on this case in a standard desktop PC that's in the desk. No big deal. People don't even notice it, measures their temperature on the way in. So like I said, it's all about getting more of a seamless, non-invasive type of situation, solution going for these type of offices. You can see here's an enterprise check-in, thermal scanning for a office building in Taiwan. You can see those installed in a corporate front desk. They're facing the monitors forward for transparency, and then people just walk up and then check in and then go on their business, and there's no stopping in front of a kiosk, and it just collects the data when they go up and talk. And you can see when you have a higher end camera that works from about 5-6 feet away, you don't need people to really interact with it. Just sort of passively grabs them. I mean, this one's pointed, 45 degrees in this case to my right-hand side. So it just catches people as they walk up, don't even notice it. They see the screens, know it's there. It's running on this Windows 10 laptop. Pretty easy, seamless solution to install. It's all localized too. Right? The whole, from a security standpoint, the heat finder doesn't do any cloud data. It just sits there and collects data passively. So there's no security concerns, and et cetera, right? So it doesn't require cloud reporting or management or anything like that. All right, another type of solution I wanted to talk about today is, of course, what you've probably all experienced, which is teleconferencing solutions. So everyone's been fighting working from home. We did have a webinar on this earlier this year in terms of the AOPEN solutions we offered, but the main ones that we're going to focus on in the future are more of meeting room and teleconferencing solutions. So AOPEN is really looking at getting into stuff like cameras, professional microphones, and things like that. So our first product, which we're going to do an unboxing with in a webinar on December 29th, is the KP180. So we're going to announce that product later. Just give you an idea of what it's for. Why would you want a 180-degree view angle webcam? So this is a standard USB 4K webcam with 180 view angle. So it's great for all these size reduction type of initiatives, because a lot of companies are splitting the workforce, half working from home. They have to have desk check-in solutions and things like that. So the size of meeting rooms is going down. But the main use case, of course, is going to be education and teach from home or learn from home, right? Because you have to get the whole chalkboard in view. You have to be able to control the camera based off of variable lighting conditions, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a great camera at a great price point for situations where you want to capture an entire field of view. We've all been in meeting rooms where you only have two guys, but there's those sneaky guys in the that don't have to lean into the camera, to be heard. So it's trying to solve those type of solutions for modern sort of quick conference rooms, which there are tons of. Right? The other one that we've brought up before is, of course, Telepresence. I always want to keep this fresh in people's minds because I love these solutions. This one in particular is on our all-in-ones, allows outpatient clinics to use this medical entertainment device. They can watch TV on it, they can talk to their doctor, they can get information about the procedure they're about to receive, and about what they can expect before and after, what some of the drugs administered to do, blah, blah, blah. It's all that stuff. I think these type of outpatient or inpatient clinical devices, they're going to become smarter. The other place you're going to see these is, of course, pharmacies or any place where you're really required to, where the customer needs a lot of high-end information, right? And when you require something expensive as a PA or a nurse or a doctor, those resources are extremely valuable. So these type of healthcare providers, they'd rather just have 10 doctors sitting in, Dallas, Texas, serving the entire nation and being on demand instead of trying to manage getting doctors to live in every single state and blah, blah. It's a mess trying to manage healthcare resources like that. So telehealth, I mean, we know it's coming, and these type of kiosk solutions are going to be a huge part of that. Oh, there we go. I did include another slide. So another taster, just to give you an idea of the specs on this camera. 4K. The other main thing I forgot to mention in the last slide is that it does contain a high-end conference microphone. So it is designed to be an all-in-one solution. You can see that there's multiple ways to mount it. You can mount it on top of your professional display, on top of your laptop. I put mine on top of my standard desktop screen. It's under the screen for that type of conference room. You know, there's desktop tripods, et cetera, et cetera. The main way it works, you can see that it has two lenses, is that you can see that there's slight overlapping area. So it actually has hardware in there to stitch it together and create one 4K resolution image. Last thing to note that I touched on briefly is that the software you can adjust the camera through the software. It does have face finding and tracking sort of features as well, and a whole bunch of layouts, which are sort of very interesting. So you can sort of have the camera, a piece of the camera, sort of like a picture-in-picture, sort of focus on one object if you're talking over it and things like that. Sort of like this webinar, but it does it all through the camera software. So we'll go over those layouts in the webinar specifically for the KP180. Last thing I wanted to talk about is, of course, the antimicrobial surface protectors. So AOPEN is, of course, partnered with KASTUS. And this is a film or a baked in to the screen solution. And the main purpose of it is to be particularly antiviral. So traditional, if you buy anything that's quote unquote medical grade or whatever, antibacterial, most of the time it's going to use something called silver ion technology. And that's unfortunately leaching and doesn't work versus viruses. So the main thing that works versus viruses that's able to be coated, like a static coating that's going to work for an extended period of time, is copper. Unfortunately, copper is not very transparent. It works great on the pipes in your house, not so great for your cell phone screen. So KASTUS has this proprietary technology that we can integrate into all ranges of our all-in-one devices. So it's a completely proprietary technology. It works by actively going out on a non-leaching way to go out and actually destroy the viruses and the bacteria. And the main thing is that it's non-degrading and it's powered by light, visible light, specifically the light from the kiosk itself. So as long as your kiosk and your touchscreen is on, the thing's working, right? So lots of people are like, it does have the ability to work in the dark through more of a metal process, but you know, you're disinfecting it. If it's on and people are using it, it's working because that backlight is activating it, right? And the main point is that you really want to make sure the technology that you're offering to customers is effective versus bacteria and viruses, because you know, COVID-19 is a virus, and that's what people are concerned about these days. You know, as I said, it's not a non-leaching, which means that the baked-in coating doesn't degrade, it doesn't leave the surface, which means that it doesn't get into the environment. Those are all sorts of concerns when you're using a more metal-based procedure. And of course, it's completely proprietary. They're the only ones that make this technology thus far, and it's very non-toxic, non-leaching, safe to use, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely check out the webinar if you're interested more in that product. Okay, let's tie this webinar up. I think it's about time. So the U.S., basically, to reiterate my points, U.S. market will continue to grow, in my opinion, in industrial, medical, and enterprise. So we'll see how these type of solutions, I think, are just going to become part of the way that people sort of experience check-in type of solutions. I think, you know, they're obviously going to be less prevalent at the end of in the news, so to speak, by the end of next year, but I think they're going to always become a part of modern check-in and corporate communication, well, corporate check-in. So they're going to be there, I think, but they're not going to be ultra high priority, right? So especially in these high volumes management type of solutions where you have to get lots of people and information about them and secure information about them as well. So of course, AOPEN offers a wide variety of COVID-19 related solutions. Thermal cameras, as you saw, we got our new thermal camera module that works with our all-in-one devices, work from home solutions, and of course, the KASTUS antimicrobial antiviral overlays. So the last thing I want to point out is, of course, as I mentioned, check out the KP180 webinar, December 29th, 2020, if you're watching the VOD, and look out in Q1 of next year for our webinars on Telepresence. Corporate communication, we're of course going to have more cameras coming out. And we have a really great corporate communication partner that absolutely did phenomenal in 2020. We just confirmed that the other day. They did great because they were able to provide those great solutions to help corporations manage all that space change. So many decisions need to be made, and those sort of kiosks and the digital signage all talking together, managing conference rooms, desk check-in, who's working from home, who's not working from home, critical. So we got a really great webinar on that coming up in end of January. And of course, as usual, we're talking EDU solutions with a number of partners coming up in Q1 as well. So if you want to check out any of our webinars, here's some of the previous ones. We have a website for this. Of course, we have the original heat finder one, 22 miles, that's the thermal kiosk check-in solution, KASTUS overlay. All you have to do is go to go.aopenamericainc.com/webinars. You don't want to find it, just message us at info@aopen.com if you're interested in any of these solutions. So, okay, I think that about wraps it up for today's webinar. Let's see if we have any questions. I think we're good to go. I mean, that was pretty much most of my time today. So feel free, if you do have any other questions about this, to once again, reach out. If you're curious about this technology, how much it costs, where you can get it, where you can buy it, where these solutions come from, right? How, you know, the main point about a lot of these solutions that I'm always very vocal about is that when you're trying to buy a new solution, it's very tough to find how good it is. It's not like when you're buying a thermal camera solution in the United States that has a lot of Amazon reviews, you know what I mean? Because as soon as people in the American market wanted to buy these things, everyone offered them, but you don't know if they work. You don't, you know, how as a consumer, how are you supposed to know which ones to buy? But the AOPEN one that we offer, the heat finder, of course, has been installed in over 1,000 locations, a lot of them in Taiwan, which has been the world leader in COVID response. They've definitely outperformed many countries using a combination, not only thermal, but obviously a lot of other techniques as well. So our heat finder solution is very proven, has a lot of provenance. And of course, 22 miles is just an enterprise grade kiosk solution. They use a very well-known module on their solution as well, and that's why they've been doing so well. The other main SI uses a French solution as well. So yeah, there's a few really good solutions out there, but you always have to make sure that you're really buying and installing one that your customers and you're going to have confidence in, that you're getting the best data, right? Because it's extremely easy when you're using this type of tech to get bad data, and basically you're not helping anyone, right? It's sort of, you know, it's like, you know, you want these systems to actually make a difference and help people and you know, prevent spreading in some capacity. Like, that's the whole goal. You just don't want to put a sign on something and, you know, hope that it's making things better. So anyway, that's all I had to say today. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great day.